Hello, Kelly. How are you this evening? Patiently waiting. How's everything going? I found this really cool book. I give everybody a few minutes, but I found this cool book, and it's on the complete guide to Bible prophecy. I found it in a thrift store. It's always where I find my books. Thank you for the thumbs up. And one of the things that caught my attention, and welcome if you're a member here, I really appreciate you. My name's Sher. I'm an intuitive if you've not met me yet, but you probably have because you're a member. Okay, so one of the things that I found very interesting in this book, it was like, how did God talk to prophets? And I never thought about that until I read that, and I was like, wow, how did God talk to prophets? And so let's go there. And it says in Numbers chapter 12, verses 6 through 8, it says, I, the Lord, speak to prophets in visions and dreams, but my servant Moses is the leader of my people. He sees me face to face, and everything I say to him is perfectly clear. So I thought that was really kind of interesting. So biblically, it shows that God does send messages in a variety of different ways. And that's important because if you're having a spiritual awakening and all of a sudden you start getting messages and you're like, what the heck is this? What's going on? And then it starts to dawn on you that these are real messages. It makes sense. So it says God's favorite ways to contact prophets were dreams, visions in trance like state, angel messengers, and the sound of a celestial voice. And here's some examples. In Daniel, Daniel had a dream and saw visions as he laid in his bed. That's Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. Jeremiah, he said, I have heard these prophets say, listen to the dream I had from God last night. That's Jeremiah. Jeremiah having dreams. Hi, Stray Queen. That's interesting. I don't know how you got here because it's a members only channel, but I'm okay with it. I don't know what that was about. Okay, um, so messages from God are presented in various ways, shapes, and forms. Okay, I like this one. This is in Genesis. This is about Jacob here. He dreamed of a stairway that reached from earth up to heaven. And at the top of the stairway stood the Lord. And he said, I am Lord, the God of your grandfather, Abraham, and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are laying on belongs to you. So can you imagine like God coming to you in a dream and you seeing like the steps to heaven? You know, that's kind of interesting. So so we also have how do we get all these different messages from the divine? Almost 3:33 on the clock. Okay, so King Solomon, he had a dream. It says, the night the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream, and then God said, what do you want? Ask, and I will give it to you. Now, what do you think? This is kind of interesting. That was in First Kings chapter 3, verse 5. What do you think Solomon asked for? I know, isn't that amazing? Solomon asked for, what did Solomon ask for? Solomon asked for discernment, for wisdom, because wisdom is the path to, knowledge, everything. So, all right. So then also, let's see. Let me bear with me. Here's one in Matthew chapter 2, verse 12. It said, wise men who came to see Jesus. When it was time for them to leave, they returned to their own country by another route. Why did they pick another route? Why? Because God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. That's Matthew chapter 2, verse 12. Okay. So there's also visions, okay? Here's an example. It says, calling dreams visions. As one of Jacob's comforters put it, God speaks in dreams and the visions of the night when deep sleep falls on people as they lie in their beds. I did not know that was in there. That's Job 33, verse 15. That's really cool. Okay. Okay, here's an interesting one. This is music because we're always getting like music messages. This one said, the prophet, this is talking about the prophet Elijah. And he said, soothing a strum of a harp to induce what sounds like a trance. When a king sought God's direction, hi JC, while the harp was being played, the power of the Lord came upon him. So a lot of times, like in our life, music can transfer. Music is sacred. Music can be peaceful. Music can reset you. Music can also be a message for the Most High. You know, one of my songs is I keep getting the vision. I had a dream. I had everything. I got everything I ever wanted, and that song stays with me. And I feel like that's like a sign, you know. Also, another way that people show up is through angel messengers. How do we search? You know, and I've had an angel show up in my house. I have, and I'm going to be honest, it's pretty intimidating because they're very big, big. They're big, big enough that it just they encompasses the whole bathroom doorway. It was really quite shocking. I actually shut my eyes and opened them back up again because I was like, no, that's not an angel. But it was an angel. Okay. So angels do deliver messages. Okay. Please, if you're in here, give it a like, a share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm not sure. I see people that aren't members, but we'll figure that out later. And I'm okay with that. Also, here's a really big one that most people don't think about: the voice of God. As a prophet, Moses was one of the kind. He heard God's voice and sometimes saw manifestations of God himself. You know, and like Moses was, you know, he was pretty close to God, okay? Let me see what we have here. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Sounds like something that might happen to me. Fire's attracted to me. Um, also, Jews in ancient times understood the phrase angel of the Lord, sometimes referred to God himself, just as the Spirit of the Lord does for many Christians today. Okay, this is interesting. Bear with me because I am reading some of this other book. God appeared to Moses from inside a cloud or a glowing pillar of light. Once Moses asked to see God in his real form. Can you imagine? Just even like to be brave enough to ask that. Show me your glorious presence. Now, this is in Exodus 33:18. What does God say? God answers. That's cool. I like that. So God answered. He said, you may not look directly at my face, for no one may see me and live. Exodus 33:20. So yeah, I'm not ready. Okay. But God did agree to walk near Moses. The Lord raised his hand to shield his face from the prophet while walking by, but he allowed Moses to see him from behind. Now, I was not aware of that. You may not look directly at my face, for no one may see me and live. Wow, that's pretty profound. And if you think about all the people that die, and have near death experiences, things like that. Think about like they die and they come back and they say they've seen the face of God. And if you think about that sentence, no one can see me, because if they do, they'll die. I mean, that's really profound. That's pretty deep, I think. But he did let Moses see his backside, but not the front. And this is like the person that was what, like one of the closest people to God. So can you imagine? That's intense, really, if you think about it. In Acts chapter 22, verses 6 through 7, Sal had a revelation. It was a very bright light from heavenly suddenly shone down around me. I fell to the ground and I heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Okay, so God speaks in strange and mysterious ways. And he talked to Moses. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeshua. Okay, I like that. Yeah, and so this is pretty cool. I'm going to read this because I saw this picture. I'm going to show you the picture of it. See the picture? The picture's kind of cool, right? And this says here, advice from the dead. Dead prophet Samuel rises as a spirit and warns King Saul that he'll lose the next day's battle. Worse, he says Saul and his sons will join him before the day is over. Kings throughout the ancient Middle East often consulted prophets before battle to learn the outcome. Saul had no such prophet anymore. With Samuel dead and the Israelites and Philistine armies waiting to tear into each other at daybreak, Saul, in desperation, asked for a medium to conjure up Samuel's spirit, breaking Jewish law in the process. When Samuel appeared, the medium's reaction showed she was a fraud. From her lips to her lungs, she screamed. Okay, so I'm bringing this up because in our world today, not everybody is what they present to be. Okay. It's like the devil in disguise or opening Pandora's box. But the one thing I will say is God always acts in love. Okay. God is love. If you feel somebody's telling you to do something crazy that will harm others, that's not God. That's never God. Okay. All right. So, what did prophets talk about? I thought this was interesting. Um, let's see. Messages before the fall. The dead in and okay. Bear with me. See if we want to go here. Okay, this is interesting. This is called a penalty clause. I hope I'm not boring you guys. It said, in Moses' day, the Jews entered into a contract with God on behalf of themselves and their descendants. If they worshiped only God, no idols, and obeyed the laws he gave them through his prophet Moses, he would bless them big time. He'd give them a homeland scattered he gave them a homeland, scattered their enemies, and blessed them with lots of children, sprawling flocks, and bumper crops. Break the agreement, and the penalty clause in Deuteronomy says there are a few notable consequences. Um, Sickness, the Lord will punish you with disease and swelling. Drought, death, exile. So God can be really extreme at times. And those were again sickness, drought, death, and exile. Oh, I now want to be on God's bad list. Would you? Um, Also, this was kind of And this is kind of interesting. They brought up the thing is, did the prophets get their predictions wrong? Did any prophets do that? If what the prophet spoke in God's name doesn't happen, then obviously God wasn't behind it. The prophet made it up. Now that's in Deuteronomy 18, verse 22. Okay. So I thought that was interesting. There's so many. And today, if you look at today's society, as the world is shifting, as the world is moving, there are so many things that are happening today that are proving Bible history. If you look at it, they're proving Bible history, and it's pretty cool. So it's something to think about. And this is a great book. It's by Stephen M. Miller, and it's pretty thorough. Uh, it covers beast battles, all kinds of stuff. It's really I can't wait to really get into it. But this is our first lesson on this. I try to keep the lessons between 15-20 minutes. Shayla Kelly, I so appreciate your support. You're awesomely wonderful. Um, so do remember that God speaks in strange and mysterious ways through dreams, voices, prophecies. There's numerous ways that God can speak to you. So don't always discount it. When you hear the voice of God, it could very well be the voice of God. Okay? So doubt is a lack of faith. Hang on to your faith. This is going to conclude this particular lesson today. I will be Yes, and I believe that. I do believe that God will remove your gift. I believe absolutely wholeheartedly if you use your gift for evil or you do the wrong things, that God removes the gifts. Thank you, Shayla Kelly. So this is our first class. I appreciate you popping in. I've got to go to the next thing, but and I'm going to try to keep these kind of short because we're all busy, but at the same time, let us learn something. So there's a lot to be said about Bible prophecy. If you like this, I will continue it. Let me know. And you guys have a fabulous day. I really appreciate you. And please go share some peace and love. Bye, guys.